Good morning. I'm a journalist working for Rwanda Television, and I'm gathering facts about the disease of Ebola since most people are afraid of it. So, would you like to be part of this?
Yeah, sure.
Going straight to the first question, global health seems to be in the news more and more in recent years. Talk about what global health is and why is it important to pay attention to it.
Yeah, global health is is defined as a study or research or practices that prioritize improving health or health awareness, fairness among people worldwide. It's better to pay attention to it because this will help people to have strategies of maintaining better health worldwide as well.
Oh, okay. So, since disease can come to us in different ways, explain the difference between communicable and non-communicable disease.
Well, communicable diseases are diseases that are highly infectious that can be transmitted from one person to another through wind, food, or water. These are like respiratory diseases like cough. But non-communicable diseases are diseases that are not contagious. You cannot, they cannot be transmitted from one person to another through those kinds of ways. These are caused by mostly allergies or long-term illnesses, also like abnormalities.
Okay, good. So, now let's talk about Ebola. Since I'm not sure of most of our views have heard a lot about that, what is it? Is it communicable, non-communicable? How do people get it?
Yeah, Ebola is a deadly disease that is believed to have come from a bat. They believe that a bat has a virus of Ebola, so it's communicable because people get it from like when you get contact with someone who has Ebola, you also get the infection. So uh, when you get closer to a person who has Ebola, you get that infection. It may also be caused by eating things that are not clean, like vegetables. So, yeah, that's it about Ebola.
So, what would raise a person's risk of getting Ebola?
Yeah, a risk of getting Ebola, of course, when there is an outbreak in a country, it's not. It's a very high risk when you get contact with someone who has that infection. So, or eating unclean things like vegetables when you have not cleaned them. So it's of high risk mostly when you get direct contact with someone who has the infection.
So, to prevent or at least lessen the chance of getting Ebola, what should people do?
Well, of course, like such diseases, like those outbreaks like Ebola, as we know that it's of high risk to get direct contact with someone who has Ebola or sexual contact with that person. It's better to prevent. Like if you know someone has that symptom, you go like far from that person because the moment you get contact with his fluids, bodily fluids like sweat and others, you're going to be infected also. Also, it's better as we have seen that eating things that are not clean, it's not a good thing. It's better to wash your hands when you're going to eat, and also wash things that you're going to eat very well, or you're going to cook like vegetables, mostly because bats that are believed to have that virus mostly like to go to the vegetables. Yeah.
Okay, outbreaks such as the one related to Ebola can generate a lot of humors and misinformation and even panic about what the disease is. How is transmitted and how likely people are to get. Talk about the need of educating people about facts vs myth.
Well, of course, the diseases like Ebola and other outbreaks are very scary when people hear about them. But also, of course, people may get afraid and live in a life of fear. But when you know facts and myth about them, like it's better to know where Ebola can come from and what to do to prevent it. So when you have that information, you no longer have that fear. So you need to know that it's only when you get contact with someone who has Ebola and when you don't have keenness in whatever you do. So the government that has that problem, like that outbreak, need to have time and educate people about myth around Ebola and other outbreaks and facts, because when people have information, will not live a life of fear as they know how to prevent them.
Oh, thank you. And how about the complications that Ebola raises for the rights of travelers and the responsibilities of governments? Let's take Kachi Hikus, for example, a nurse from Maine who returned to the States following a trip to West Africa in fall of 2014, promptly had quarantine-related restrictions thus upon her, restrictions that she was very much against. Briefly described the difficulty of balancing individual rights and government responsibility.
Yeah, of course, in such situations where the government is facing those outbreaks, they have sometimes take decisions that are sometimes against people's rights. But also they are worth it because they won't let people go and die or get infected of those diseases. So what the government should do is to have those restrictions, but also to balance is to sensitize people about why they're restricting them. So when you are denying someone his rights, it's better to explain the reasons why. The reasons might be understandable, but if you don't talk about them, people won't get the reasons why you're doing it. So to balance it is to have those restrictions, but also talk to people the purpose of those restrictions, and that I believe that it will create balance.
This takes us to the next question. Let's talk about smoking and tobacco use, which is considered to be a big world health problem and raises similar issues to Ebola in terms of rights and responsibilities. Just about everyone knows that smoking harms health. What does it do to the body?
Smoking is a very bad thing because it causes cancer. It also causes heart diseases, tuberculosis, diabetes, chronic heart diseases, yeah, and also bronchitis, chronic bronchitis. So smoking, it's not a good thing because it also causes eye diseases. So there are many body effects that it has many effects that cause to the body when someone abuses it.
And what about secondhand smoke? Explain what this is and how it affects people.
Secondhand smoke is when you are near someone who's smoking, like you're not the one who's smoking, but indirectly that smoke that comes to you also you are considered to be smoking. That's a second-hand smoke. So it's not a good thing because it also causes almost the same effects, but mostly especially when it is like young people, like babies, like when a baby has a parent who smokes, that second smoke causes death and also asthma. So it's not a good thing at all.
Oh. People don't typically think of tobacco as a drug like heroin and cocaine, but the addiction it creates is strong, isn't it?
It is.
Should we think of tobacco use as a form of substance abuse?
Of course, yes. Yeah.
Thank you for talking to us.
You're welcome.